Hello and welcome. You're watching Ask PQ on Bloomberg Quint. I am Agam Akil. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Agam, and I'm Alex Matthew. Well, if you've got questions in equity, this is the perfect show for you. You can send those queries in to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp. You can also call us on 022-454-04141. Alternatively, you can mail us on askpq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure to add the Ask PQ hashtag. A lot of excitement this morning about the crude prices, Agam. It seems like the markets are taking it reasonably well.
It certainly is, and of course it's a positive. Lower crude prices means a lot of advantages for India, and that's the reason why we're seeing an uptick in both the Nifty as well as the Sensex, advancing by around nearly 0.4%. In fact, the Nifty Banking Index up by 1%. So gains all around, and let's take a look at the key gainers. And quite naturally, you'll have the OMCs right at the top of the list. So there you have it. In fact, all your top three gainers on the Nifty are OMCs: HPCL, BPCL, and Indian Oil Corp. All of them advancing by anywhere between 6.5% to 8.5%. On the losing end, let's take a look at some of those losers as well. And I suspect there will be, there you have it. So Sun Pharma is the top loser on the index, followed by Tech Mahindra and HCL Technologies. Quite naturally, we have weakness in some of these IT companies on account of the strengthening rupee against the US dollar, and that's starting to wilt in. Of course, the US dollar again moving against the rupee once again on the back of oil prices. Well, we continue to track more movements when it comes to some of these names, Alex.
All right, yeah. With that, let's get our two experts of the day in. Sameet Chavan of Angel Broking and Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services are here to answer all of your questions this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about those. Sorry?
Okay, we just have to come back to our experts.
Okay.
Alex, actually, you know what? Okay, so let me address what's really happening in the markets right now. And we did have the crude chart here, crude prices here, and perhaps we can bring up crude right now and see where it's currently trending. Now, Brent is currently at $65 a barrel, and what we're actually seeing is that earlier in the day, we had seen a little bit of an up move, but this perhaps, with this red tick, will be, if I'm not mistaken, the 11th or 12th straight day when we're seeing declines on crude.
In fact, Agam, I think if you look at it from the start of October,
right,
at least WTI, and that's what I read in the morning, is down more than 20%.
Right.
So it's a substantial move down, and I think that's, if it sustains, obviously, huge tailwinds for the Indian economy. I think we've got our two experts in. Like I said, it's Sameet Chavan of Angel Broking and Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services, both of whom are joining us to answer all of the questions today. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for asking. Gaurang, I think we're going to start perhaps with okay, I'm not going to qualify this. I'm just going to ask a question. Mahesh Romanov is asking us on WhatsApp. He's holding Idea at 64 rupees per share, PC Jeweler at 168 rupees, Bhushan Steel at 35, and Reliance Communications at 20 rupees per share. He's asking what he should do. I'm guessing he's facing losses in all of those stocks. What should he do with them?
Is that a question to me, Alex?
Yes, Gaurang. Yes, Gaurang, it is.
Okay, so good afternoon to all of you all. Well, unfortunately, he's got worst of all the four worlds instead of two worlds. All the four stocks are a disaster. But out of the four, there is only one which looks to be turnaround with a 3.5, 4 year plus time horizon, and that is Vodafone Idea. But he needs to average. The stock has almost halved from the investment level. If I'm not mistaken, I stand to be corrected. Pricing power is a big issue. Huge subscriber base, but minus pricing power, that subscriber base is of no use. With Reliance Jio competition, I don't see any meaningful turnaround in the next 4 to 5 or 6 quarters or 8 quarters. But yeah, definitely at the end of the turbulent times for the Indian telecom sector or Indian cellular service provider companies, you will have three large players catering to the vast subscriber base in India. That is Reliance Jio, Bharti Airtel, and Vodafone Idea. So you expect some amount of pricing power to come back, but till such time, I think you will have to possibly stay invested, have a lot of patience, and maybe at 30-35 rupees, if you have investable amount, you can definitely average. Bhushan Steel, Reliance, Communication, I believe, Alex, was the stock, and the third one, if you can repeat.
Well, there's Idea, and there was one more, which
PC Jeweler.
PC Jeweler is the last one, yeah.
So PC Jeweler, Bhushan, and Reliance Communication. My friend, there are better companies to invest in. If you buy these kind of companies, there is all possibility that your capital will get eroded. So be careful next time. Select good companies, quality companies. Buy quality, don't buy quantity. That is what I advise you. If you can exit at current levels or whatever pullbacks you can see, exit and buy into maybe FMCG names. Dabur, Marico looks extremely good with a long-term time horizon, or maybe something in the metal with the recovery that we foresee on the domestic front. Vedanta, Hindalco are a decent investment idea for long.
Okay, well, we have a bunch of queries on CG Power, and we've been getting them on a constant basis, and we have one from Krish as well. So then this one is a technical review that's required. Let's pull up CG Power. It's currently trading at around 33, 34, and almost every single week we have at least 3 or 4 queries coming in on this one. It's currently trending low. Once again, down 5.2%. Krish wants to get a 4-month view, and he's bought CG Power at around 33. So Sameet, if I can come to you for a technical view on this one, what would you advise Krish to do?
See, unfortunately, this calendar year has been a disaster for this particular counter. The stock nosedive from its recent highs of 99, and from there on there has been no stopping. So without any major bounce back, the stock has been declining. It's in a strong downtrend, and any minor bounce back is likely to get sold into. So I don't see any encouraging sign on chart. So as of now, my suggestion would be to, in case of any bounce back, in case of any decent bounce back towards 45, 50, I don't know whether it will happen or not, but in case if that happens, then it would be an opportunity to exit.
The one stock that we haven't spoken about, is Ashok Leyland, Agam. It's down about 9% in trade today, and that's because of the update that we got just last evening after markets closed, that Vinod Dasari, the MD and CEO of the company, is actually going to be stepping down at the end of the financial year. It's not been taken very well by the street. Gaurang, we've got a lot of questions coming in on Ashok Leyland, both on people who are asking, what to do with their positions. It's not moved significantly. I think over the last several months, we thought that there would be an uptick after that initial move, after the Axel norms were changed. But people who are holding on to the stock, people who are thinking of a fresh investment, what should the strategy be here with regard to Ashok Leyland?
Well, first of all, have patience. Secondly, I always believe, Alex, that companies are driven by people, not by one individual. Of course, undeniably, Mr. Vinod Dasari was a man of foresight. He was instrumental in bailing out from difficult times where Ashok Leyland used to be with huge debt, unviable JVs, etc., etc. But, like all top leaders at any institution, companies have to go. He also had to go. Maybe, it was a little bit premature exit, if I can say that way, if I can put it that way. But there are capable people. It's not that you cannot find talent. And I'm sure that there will be a, meaningful replacement coming through, who will be guiding the company again towards the growth trajectory. We remain extremely positive at 109, 10, wherever the stock is. If you have long-term horizon, stay invested, and if you got in at high levels, you can average at current levels. I'm quite excited about 2 things, Alex. One is the scrapping of old trucks. If the policy have to come through between 10 to 15 to 20 years, there will be a huge replacement demand coming through. Because of GST implementation, turnaround time for fleet owner trucks has reduced to almost half. So there is a huge demand from there. And of course, you have a very strong domestic as well as export market for commercial vehicles. So we remain positive on Ashok Leyland.
All right. Well, we move on to the next one. It's on Facebook. It's from Zinal Satra. Zinal said that ICICI Bank shares have been bought at around 366. Kindly suggest a stop loss and a target. It's currently at around 369. There has been no horizon in place, but the entry point, as he suggests, that 366 is the entry point. Sameet, what would your positional view be when it comes to ICICI Bank? How is it looking on the charts?
See, clearly the stock has been one of the outperforming stocks since last 4 to 5 weeks. The stock has already given stellar move from its lower levels, and it's now trading around its all-time highs. So with today's move, the stock has broken its previous hurdle of 364, 365 convincingly. As of now, it appears that the stock would give a decent close beyond this hurdle. So this momentum is likely to extend, but I would still suggest strict stop loss below 361, that is today's low. So one should trade with strict stop loss below 361, and we would expect continuation of this momentum at least toward 378, 380.
All right, so I'm going to try and club two questions. I'm going to take the interpret this the way hopefully it's going to help a lot of people out there. Shiva Kumar is asking for 5 stocks that can grow at a CAGR of 20%. I know that Gaurang will not be able to give you exactly that, but he will give you good ideas, I'm sure, over the next 5 years or so. And we also have a question on WhatsApp from Harshavardhan. He's asking on a sectoral basis, he's listed FMCG, aviation, auto and banking and a long-term time horizon. Now, Gaurang, you've already mentioned a couple of FMCG names. I think you also mentioned the metals pack, a few names. But if you're talking about a 5-year time horizon, which sector would you be more bullish on? And if you can name a few stocks within those few sectors.
So, Alex, first of all, let me tell all your viewers that investing into stock market is a high risk, high return asset class game, and there is no surety or guarantee. So please have this, absolute clarity in your mind whenever you're investing into stock market. But history also shows that with a longer time horizon, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, equity as an investment asset class has delivered much better return compared to any other asset class. And my savings, 80%, are into equity market related investments. That's a disclosure, blanket disclosure that I will give. So if I have to pick and choose from banking, private sector, large cap with the turnaround visible, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank are the two investment ideas, despite the fact that ICICI Bank from 250 has gone to 360 and Axis Bank from 400 has gone to 600 plus levels. Even now they look attractive. Amongst the mid-cap private sector banks, Kotak Mahindra Bank, IndusInd Bank, and a name which was beaten black and blue because of, again, a very top-level senior person not getting approval from Reserve Bank of India to continue the tenure, that is Yes Bank, we remain extremely positive. Amongst the public sector banks, State Bank of India and Indian Bank, these are the two banks that we are positive on. With these NBFCs, despite the kind of carnage we saw over the last 2 months because of the negative news flow, we believe that painting all the companies with the same color and brush is not the right thing or the right approach. So over there, we like HDFC Limited, Grove Finance, PNB Housing Finance, Canfin Homes and LIC Housing Finance. And amongst the diversified financial companies, we like Cholamandalam Investments and Shriram Transport Finance.
Seems to be the pick.
All right. Well, I believe we have a caller right now. So let's get in Mayur Kumar, who calls us from Delhi. Hi, Mayur. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for calling us. Tell us, what would you like to know from our experts?
Sorry, Mayur, we can't really hear you. It appears to be a bad line. We'll try and get back to you. I think we'll call back and see if we can get a clearer line. Why don't we take another one in the meantime?
All right. So, well, in the meantime, I'm going to take a query from Mayank Saraf as well. And this one is on GSK Consumer Healthcare. Alex, I was drawing a comparison of all the FMCG companies and the copies up there. And GSK Consumer Healthcare has not done terribly when it comes to fundamentals. It's right up there, but well, it's a relatively low, it has low liquidity as compared to some of the other FMCG companies. That said, it's currently trading at around 7,200, and Mayank needs to, well, he wants a view on GSK Consumer. So I'm going to take a technical view on this one. Sameet, how is it this one looking on the charts to you, and what stop losses would you, perhaps targets, would you suggest?
See, generally it's not considered as a trader's favorite counter, low beta counter, so it gives slow moves. So looking at structurally, we believe that the stock has been a steady mover. There has been a series of higher top, higher bottom formation in all time frames. Since last one and a half month, the stock has been consolidating around its important support level and has recovered from its 200-day moving average place around 64, 6600. So structurally it looks good. So my suggestion would be, in case if he's holding this particular counter, he should stay put. With a positional view, I would suggest a strong support around 6,800. So one can use it as a strict stop loss below 6,800. And once the stock surpasses 7,300, 7,350, you could see some kind of momentum, probably towards 7,650, 7,800.
All right, that's the view on GSK Consumer. I believe Mayur Kumar is calling us back from New Delhi. Hopefully the line is better. Mayur, can you hear me? I hope you can. What's your query on? Thanks so much for calling.
Yeah, my query is I bought 1,000 shares of Infosys at 650 and for the next 20 years. My question is, will the performance of Infosys for next 20 years will be repeated now?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Let's pull up Infosys and see what it's trading. I think, Agam, you're the best person to talk about this.
No, I'm going to actually hand it over to the expert. Let's get Gaurang's view on here. Gaurang, 20 years horizon is a good enough horizon for any stock for that matter, but how would your view be? Let's talk about Infosys and let's talk about Infosys in comparison to perhaps another large cap. Where is your preference here?
So again, 2 years back, nobody wanted to touch IT sector. Now it's become a darling for the last year and a half. We remain positive then, we remain positive now. But the problem, Agam, is that with a 20-year time horizon, it's very difficult to take a call because it's an extremely long period. It's very good, but very long. My humble request is it is one of the niche companies in terms of the sector that it is associated with. Digital, artificial intelligence, cloud are some of the areas where most of the Indian IT companies have a very decent presence, and they are capable to cater any complex platform going forward from here on. So stay invested, do an SIP. You have a 20-year period. My humble request is do an SIP, buy 5, 10 shares, 20 shares every month whenever you have that excess capital available, savings available. And I'm sure with the track the earnings, again, I would repeat what I've said earlier, given the time horizon, it's very important that you track the earnings and listen into the management commentary in terms of the business outlook and where do they foresee the Indian IT sector going in terms of domestic as well as global presence. But given the past track record, I'm sure next 20 years too will have glory time for all those investors who got invested into Infosys, and likewise TCS as well.
Okay, so Gaurang, very quickly, I'm going to interpret this because he said that he's invested already 1,000 shares. He should hold on for the next 20 years, but keep watching the earnings and listening to the management commentary.
That's exactly right, Alex. And 1,000 shares is no big deal. You can even increase your investment into Infosys, but keep one thing in mind: don't overexpose yourself to any particular sector and stock, because that also exposes you to a lot of risk.
Okay, well, moving on, let's address Somani Ceramics, and perhaps you can take a technical view here. We have Danesh KK. He says that he's bought Somani Ceramics at 440. Should I average at current levels? I'm going to take a technical check as well as a fundamental check on this one because, well, it's considerably below its entry price for Dhanush. It's currently at around 303. Let's take the technical check first. Sameet, your view on Somani Ceramics, what's going on?
No, clearly averaging out is not at all advisable. This stock has been declining continuously since last 10 to 11 months and there has been no stopping. It has already broken its all major support levels. The only ray of hope is trading around its multi-year supports 300, 303. So that's just a ray of hope, but in case of a bounce back also, we believe that it would be an opportunity to exit this pedal counter. So as of now, he can keep a stop loss, strict stop loss below 300 on a closing basis. And before that, if it gives a decent bounce back, that would be an opportunity to exit.
Can I take this over with you as well, Gaurang? How are you viewing Somani Ceramics, perhaps in relation to other companies in the sector?
So Agam, it's a good proxy play when it comes to construction, building activity, whatever, changes we are seeing with respect to Real Estate Regulation Act and the entire real estate sector. But I would rather invest my money into other related companies in the same sector, something like a Kajaria Ceramic or a Serra Ceramic. Somani does not look all that interesting, and as a disclosure, we don't have a coverage, so the regulation doesn't permit me to comment more. But if I was there and I would want to play the, proxy play in terms of revival of construction sector, real estate sector, then these two companies would be better investment ideas.
Gaurang, a question for you from Jagan Nanduri. He's asking about Balrampur Chini, but I think I'll expand that to the rest of the sugar space as well. I think when we spoke a few months back, we were not really very confident about the space. But then that ethanol update came in with regard to the pricing of it, and that was a positive. Would you recommend getting into either Balrampur Chini or any other of the sugar companies at this point?
So Alex, first of all, I love sugar, but in my tea, coffee and sweets. And thank God I don't have diabetes. Government policies do have a lot of impact on the sector. Price of sugarcane, price of refined sugar or the final product. And then you have issues related to who's going to invest or give money to sugar companies to put on that additional ethanol capacity. Point number one. Point number two, as of now, there is mandatory guidelines from the government that you have to blend at least 10% or more of ethanol into petroleum products. But the sad part of this whole story, Alex, is that the oil marketing companies do not have the requisite capacity or infrastructure, which will take time. And again a disclosure, Balrampur Chini is the only stock we had a buy coverage at 60 rupees with a target price of 110, which is already there. So my humble request is that if you have money invested into sugar, especially Balrampur Chini, time to take money off the table. And other companies I would not advise, because I believe highly vulnerable sector with government policies. I don't have clarity in terms of when that additional ethanol capacity will come and how much contribution will it do to the respective companies and how much will it get blended over a period of time. So with these unanswered questions, I will not be in a position to comment on the sugar sector. And if you have in Balrampur Chini, target is achieved, please book the profit.
Okay, we have one more query on Balrampur Chini, so I hope it answers that viewer's question as well. But I'm going to take in a question on UPL. We have one of our regulars, Siddharth Rawat, who says that he's shorted 5 lots of UPL at around 752. What can I do? That's this question. It's currently at 755, so it's about 3 points higher than the level at which he's shorted at. Sameet, can you come in on this one? How would you help Siddharth right now? How is it trending?
I think Alex, he needs to exit his position. This stock has been, giving massive moves since last 3 weeks. It has given V-shaped recovery from lower levels of 600, around 640, 645. We were buyer in this counter with a target of 700, so it has already surpassed those levels, and in fact, with today's move, it has surpassed its recent swing high also. So that's a positive sign, and the stock is, heading upwards. So we believe that if he has a short position, he should exit right away.
Gaurang, very quickly, Chetan Tayal is asking about 3 companies: Shakti Pumps, Moltech Packaging, and Century Ply. Any one of these or a couple of these that you would recommend getting into for the long term?
So Century Ply will be the one, because this is again a good proxy play for the real estate sector, like we spoke about ceramic industries.
Okay, well, we've reached a segment where it's called the rapid fire round. So we would like to request our experts to keep their answers as short as possible so that we can get as many queries in as possible. And I'm going to take one up when it comes to something like a... Okay, so, what's the view on Infibeam? That's the question coming in from Satya31 on YouTube. Gaurang, I think every second day we get a question on Infibeam, but that's largely on the back of the big swings here. Would you avoid, or would you get into something like an Infibeam?
So for the love of God, there are better names and companies listed in the stock market. Don't try to do any bottom fishing, value buying or momentum buying into such stocks. You may end up eroding your capital. I can only say that. Unfortunately, I can't add much because we don't cover stocks like Infosys.
Okay. Very quickly, Sameet, we've already identified Ashok Leyland for the long term, but on the charts, are you seeing anything interesting?
No, clearly the stock has broken down from its important support level, but at the same time, it is heading towards its major multi-month support, which is in the zone of 103 and 104. So it would be important to see how this stock behaves around those levels. But as of now, this stock can, test those important levels of 103 and 104.
Okay, we have a question from Jyoti Gupta. The question is on Jindal Steel futures. Okay, so let's pull up Jindal Steel futures. In the meantime, if Sameet can take one up on this one. Jindal Steel, Sameet, what's your view here?
No, clearly the stock has been consolidating of late. There's a range for this particular counter, 188 on the higher side and lower side 174. So unless the stock gives a breakout in another direction, it would be very difficult to comment on this counter. So wait for a breakout to happen. And within metal space, we like Tata Steel, though it has given a decent bump up today. But again, the stock has come off a bit. It would be a good buying opportunity.
Okay, Hariom Doot is asking about Lumax, Gaurang, and Yosef Kale is asking for the best pick in the auto ank space. So first of all, would you pick Lumax and any other name you would want to suggest?
It's a good company, but unfortunately we don't have a coverage. I would put my money into Motherson Sumi and Bharat Forge as a disclosure.
All right, well, moving on, we also have a question on Biocon futures. This one once again from Jyoti Gupta. Well, Sameet, what's your take on Biocon futures right now?
No, this stock has slipped into consolidation mode. There is no momentum as such, so I would avoid getting in this counter. So if the viewer has a long position in this counter, then he should keep a strict stop loss around 615.
All right, very quickly, just the last few here, Sameet, any targets that you have for the Nifty in the short term?
So we believe that this move is likely to extend, but 10,700, 10,750 seems to have very strong resistance. So those who have long position in Nifty, at least for a time being, they should lighten up their position around this strong resistance zone.
Okay, and a fundamental query, I think this is the final one. So Shivam Singh asks whether or not he can hold on to Infosys, which he has bought at 980. Can it be averaged at current levels? Gaurang, this one is for you. Infosys is now at around 940. Would you suggest averaging?
So numbers were in line, and whenever you average, make sure that averaging is done at least 4 or 5% below the earlier acquisition price, and no need to average entire 100 quantity of shares. If you bought 100, average maybe 25-30% of the total quantity.
All right, well, on that note, I'd like to thank both our guests. Thank you so much, Sameet and Gaurang, for helping our viewers today and answering all their questions. That's all we have for you in this edition of Ask BQ. I think it was an interesting one, Agam.
Absolutely, but do remember that we are just a tweet, a post, or a call away. So keep your queries coming in. We'll have we promise to address as many as possible through our shows. But make sure you do add the Ask BQ hashtag. So you can watch all of that in previous episodes as well on our website, bloombergquint.com. But do search for the Ask BQ hashtag. Well, up next is Power Lunch, so stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint, and we will keep bringing you more.